There are several theories as to why this started. One of the first ones is the 1897 Gothic horror novel by Bram Stoker, Dracula. The idea is that vampire bats are actually blood-sucking vampires that feed on you at night and drain you of all your blood and turn you into one of them, the undead. One of the main reasons people are afraid of bats is because there is a misconception that all bats have rabies. This is far from the truth, but I'll touch on that again later. Bats have a rather different anatomy, and this will obviously cause some fear. The general population doesn't understand that, for the most part, bats are quite harmless. They envision them as giant, horrifying creatures of the night. They are associated with death and fear, and this viewpoint is purely misguided. Bats can be quite friendly when handled and understood correctly. Let's explore. First is the whole Dracula concept. This one I find the most ridiculous, so I decided to cover it first. The idea that bats turn into some pale, tall, hell-bent figure in the night to suck you dry like a juice box is simply not true. It doesn't even make sense. It's attacking me. This bat is just attacking me. Oh my god. No, that doesn't happen. This doesn't even make sense. Who are you? But humans are psychologically addicted to fear, so I guess I understand it from that angle. Count Dracula in the original novel is a centuries-old Transylvanian nobleman. He's also a bit of a recluse, and his castle is in the mountains. The reason that this is important is because bats typically live in caves away from the general population of humans. This is a large part of the association between Dracula and bats. The main association is obviously that vampires like Count Dracula suck blood, and vampire bats suck blood. In reality, the vampire bat uses its razor-sharp teeth to make small incisions in the flesh, and then they lap up the blood quickly, using their special saliva to stop blood from clotting. This keeps blood flowing easily and quickly. The vampire concept is about as scary as Count Chocula from the old cereal commercials. Twilight has furthered the ridiculousness on the vampire end, but thankfully it doesn't perpetuate the association with bats. Let's talk about rabies. The first thing we need to know is exactly what rabies is. Rabies is typically transferred between animals or animals to humans through bites from rabid animals. Not very many bats actually have rabies, and even less of them give it to humans. Only 48 confirmed cases of rabies from bats have occurred in the United States in the past 55 years. That's less than one per year. The sad thing is that bats were stigmatized with rabies. Raccoons, skunks, badgers, wild dogs, and other smaller mammals are far more typically rabid, and yet bats have taken this stereotype. This may have something to do with an anatomy that people find unsightly and somehow evil. Bats have a relatively large wingspan compared to their body size. The wings are actually their hands. This is one of the many things that make them unique. Their thumbs have little claws to assist with clinging, walking/running, and holding things. Their body is semi-reminiscent of mice, but they are not rodents. There are many variations in bats. From size to wingspan and diet, bats are very diverse. Some have larger noses, like the Jamaican leaf-nosed bat, which eats bugs and some fruit. Others have long snouts or large ears, like the long-nosed bat that uses its long snout and tongue to lap up pollen in the bottoms of long flowers. There are about 1,200 species of bats on Earth. Only 4 of those species are sanguinivore. That means they drink blood. These 4 species are the white-winged vampire bat, the common vampire bat, the hairy-legged vampire bat, and the endangered Indiana vampire bat. These 4 bats are very different, but have some things in common physically. Like I mentioned earlier, they all have the razor-sharp teeth and saliva that stops blood from clotting. While some bats may have fearsome features, most bats are harmless and will go out of their way to avoid you rather than attack you. Chiroptophobia is the fear of bats. This word comes from the words chiropto, which is their order, Chiroptera, and phobia, which means, rather obviously, fear. The cause of chiroptophobia is mainly due to misconceptions and misguided teachings, such as those mentioned earlier. People who suffer from chiroptophobia often go to extreme lengths to avoid bats. When they are confronted with situations involving bats, they will often suffer from symptoms such as hyperventilation, heart palpitations, screaming or crying, extreme feelings of danger, panic, and anxiety. If we start to improve how people perceive bats, we can start to lessen the occurrence of this disease. There are therapies that are already offered, but people just don't seek out the therapist because they don't think it's necessary. Now, what's really so awesome about bats? Well, they're one of the most diverse species on the planet, in more ways than one. They eat all kinds of things. They eat insects, fruit, bugs, plants, nectar, and blood. Remember, all of those annoying flies and moths and mosquitoes that we go out of our way to keep away from our campfires?
Campfires!
Bats take care of a very large number of them for us. The long-nosed bats with the long tongues are very important to tropical flowers. When the bat sticks its head in the flower to get at nectar, the flower has pollen that rubs off on its head. When this bat travels to another flower, it rubs off this pollen on the other flower. See, bats pollinate flowers and help make things beautiful. That's not so scary, is it? They live all over the world and in all kinds of environments: caves, trees, attics, barns, under large leaves, under bark, and under bridges, and even in mines and abandoned buildings. Vampire bats have been used for significant scientific and medicinal discoveries. The clotting agent in their saliva has been used to help create medicines for people who suffer from blood clots, and strokes. Most bats are friendly and have even grown up as pets to chiroptologists. The bats learn to recognize and legitimately enjoy the company of their human companions. In my own experience and the experience of friends, bats are extremely soft and fun to pet. Beyond all of that, bats are the only mammals that can't truly fly. Flying squirrels and sugar gliders only glide from a higher place to a lower place. Almost no other order comes with so many size-varying species. The bumblebee bat is about the size of your thumb and has a wingspan of only 6 inches, while the flying fox has a wingspan of almost 6 feet. I think that's pretty awesome. They use echolocation to get around, along with their own eyesight. The myth is that bats have terrible eyesight, and this is not really the case. Their eyesight is fine, but they use echolocation at different frequencies for hunting. The faster the clicks, the more they see. Think of it like a strobe light at a dance party. Strobe light! When it flashes, you get a quick view of your surroundings and how things are moving. It would be sort of as if you took a movie and took out every other frame. The bats click faster to get a clearer picture of what they are hunting and looking at. How cool is that?
How cool?
So you see, bats aren't scary at all. Just misunderstood. Bats are not vampires that want to turn you into undead minions. Only vampire bats drink blood, and they lap the blood, not suck it. Very few bats have rabies, and the odds of coming into contact with a rabid bat are slim to none. Their anatomy is specialized for their jobs, and their jobs are important. Their environments and functions are very diverse, and many of their functions benefit humans and the environment around us. They will, in general, not attack you, and will go out of their way to avoid you. Chiroptophobia is treatable, and a really misguided fear of bats. Society's fear of bats is based on legends and ghost stories that just aren't true. Bats have so many awesome features and roles to play, and it's hard to understand why more people don't enjoy the beauty of bats. They're even fluffy. What's not to love about that? You know what's pretty awesome, Isaac? I don't know, Isaac. What's pretty awesome? Bats, Isaac. Bats are pretty awesome.